Hi, my name's Peta Morris and I am an artist creative from the Northern Beaches. Today I have got together a really exciting pack for you, and it's to do with embroidery. And what I did was, at home I created some lino prints on calico, so of a bird. So that's the lino print, which then created this. And you are going to end up embroidering this bird to end up something like this. I hope you enjoy it. So in your pack, you will find the print of the bird, 3 colors that you'll use to stitch your bird with, a needle, and this wooden hoop. Now the hoop we put around the bird, and what you'll do is you'll unscrew the little knob at the top and it comes into 2 pieces. We take the plain wooden piece, we put it underneath the print, and then we want to put this hoop over the top, which stretches the fabric and makes it nice and taut. So now we want to thread our needle. We can thread it and use a single thread, tying a knot at the bottom, or what we can do is we can double the thread, which allows us to do other stitch types. And all you need is one little knot at the bottom, and taking a pair of scissors you have at home, just trimming that nice and small, and then we can start. We're going to start, I'm using my double thread so we can do a chain stitch. Now a chain stitch, I'll show you here on this one I've made, is this stitch running along here. Basically what you want to do is you always want to go from underneath so you don't see your knot. Pull your thread through. You're going to do 1 stitch, and then you want to, in between the 2 pieces, in between the 2 threads, you put your thread through, and then you do another stitch. I'll show you that again. So see, we've got this little chain right here. So let's do that again. It can be a bit tricky at first, but once you get the hang of it. Now, you know what? You might not want to use this stitch either. You might want to do something a little bit more simple. That's your chain stitch. Okay, now there are different ways we can do stitches to show the shape. It's not too dissimilar to when we paint. So looking at these feathers here, what we can do is, working with the direction of the stitch, we can make it look like a feather. So if we know that feathers have a stem through the center and then feathers going off to each side. So in this way, what I'm doing is I'm imagining that this is a feather, and I'm just doing a really simple stitch. But you know, if you aren't at that level yet, or you're doing this with one of your young kids, just let them go for it. It's, you know, it doesn't matter what it ends up looking like. It's the method and having fun. And also too, you might want to, depending on the colors you get in your pack, look at the patterns that you like from a bird and go for it and interpret that on this piece. So see my plain stitch here? Now what I'll do is, on this side, I'll go the other way in the direction of what would be the other side of that feather. And then it looks more lifelike. Oop. It's always a bit tricky when you can't see underneath. And there we have it. You can start seeing the pattern of the feather right there. So just using a plain stitch, you can see in this feather that I've done here, that when I change the directions of the stitch, it makes it look like a feather. So think about it in terms of the way you would draw something. What is the direction of the line? It's just that you're using a stitch and thread rather than a pencil. You can also add some really exciting textures. These are just plain stitches here, and I've done the one color and then come in again with a metallic thread. You can also choose to leave parts of the print. You can stitch wherever you want to. Okay, so the great thing about this embroidery kit is that you can take it anywhere you like and interpret it as you will with your 3 colors. If you've got any other thread at home, you could use that. It's also deciding where you want to use your color on your bird. And the sky's the limit, basically. So I've interpreted it my own way, but you could do it your own way. So whether you have one color underneath, you might want to leave the spots as they are or stitch them. It's up to you. You could also use whatever you have at home as well. So if you wanted to make imaginary flowers, you could maybe take a button and sew a button onto the calico and then thread the petals around the center part of what the flower, like the button would be the center of the flower, and then you could stitch petals around that. You could even sew some fabric into there if you had, or what are they? Sequins as well. You could also do, maybe if you have some fringing at home, that could be really cool. You could even stick fringing. You could leave this embroidery hoop or your artwork in the embroidery hoop and use that as your frame to hang on the wall when you've finished. You could leave the hoop plain, or if you've got some things you'd like to stick on this with a hot glue gun or some really good acrylic glue, because these are always timber, so you need something that's going to adhere whatever it is you have onto timber. If it is fabric though, I always find clear craft glue is really fantastic, or a hot glue gun if you have access to one of those at home. So if you've really loved this process and you want to take it a bit further, what I did here was create a lino. So what this is lino that you'd get from your local art supply shop. It is really good to get one that is a soft lino. You can also get what's called easy carve. That is a bit more expensive, but it is a lot easier to carve. And you'll need these carving tools. Now you have to be very, very careful with these. They are very sharp. So if you have a young person at home who's in primary age years, parents, you would have to really, really watch over this at home, because it's really important that we hold and use the tools properly, because they can do an enormous amount of damage. There's different tools for different or different shaped blades for different types of cut-ins, but you have to remember when you're cutting in that you're doing the reverse. So whatever you cut into, whatever becomes the black color here will be your white color. Yeah, so it's the negative space, so it's in reverse. Okay, now what you need as well is block ink. You also need what's called a brayer. You can get these from the art supply shop, and a tray. Now you could use a styrofoam tray at home or just something that you can roll your brayer in. You have to make sure that this is completely covered with paint, and then you roll your paint over the lino cut. You grab your piece of calico, not in its ring, it would just be plain calico. You'd put it on the top. I have one of these special things, but you could use anything at home, whether it's just a tea towel scrunched up, and you just want to apply a lot of pressure between the lino piece and the calico, because when you peel it off, you will get your print. So any art supply shop online, or there is also an art supply shop in Seaforth and at Brookvale if you want to go in and check it out yourself. These come, now the block ink is not an ink that you would wash. So if you wanted to do something where you would then stitch your embroidery piece onto an item of clothing, you will want to use fabric paint, which you can also get, but it's not as thick as this for the lino. So you might want to do a tester before you do it. And you can get calico just from Spotlight on a roll or buy it by the meter. And you will need a couple of meters so you can do test pieces and just to make sure you're happy with what you've got. Hi, I hope you've enjoyed this Artist Click and Create workshop. I would really love to see what you make. So if you jump onto Instagram and tag me, I'm at @thekidcreative, and tag me into the image, and then I can upload it onto my page. I am really excited to see your different interpretations and what you come up with. So I hope you've really enjoyed today, and yeah, see you soon. Bye.